Shut up and sit down.
Hello, Phantoms fans. Welcome to the Dump and Chase podcast. I'm Sam Olmstead.
And I'm Justin Irwin.
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the season finale of the Dump and Chase podcast. We typically like to get these things out a little bit sooner, but we needed the last week to kind of get that taste out of our mouth. This is Sam. I am here with Justin. Have you healed since last week?
Yeah, I definitely needed some time to decompress, too. There's a lot of hockey in a short period of time, and then the Penguins got bounced out the same night as we did, so yeah, there's a lot of tear stains on my pillow, so.
So we'll get into here what made us such sad little boys. Coming into the first round with Dubuque, from the preview we did last week and a half ago, we were pretty confident that Youngstown was going to pull this one off. Boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, we blew that call.
Yeah, but hey, we're fans, we're not getting paid to do this, so our win-loss record really does not matter. So, getting into game one on Monday, just a frustrating game all around, a 3-1 loss to Dubuque. It just seemed like the Phantoms took the formula that had been so successful for them the last couple months of the season and just completely threw it out the window. Now, you had brought up the point that part of that was due to kind of the known thing about Dubuque was they struggled with teams who played them physically.
It was pretty obvious from the get-go that playing them physical was the game plan. When you start DeLuca, Amante, and Needham, then you are planning to hit people from the start. And we got a penalty, 40 seconds into the game.
Okay, and I think that was Amante who took that first penalty. But yeah, I can understand wanting to play a physical game, but when you completely sacrifice your offensive game, because they only had 9 shots through 2 periods?
Yeah, and I think some of those were probably dump-ins from the blue line that missed the corner and hit the goalie.
Or the Kolbakov bounce, as we like to call it. But yeah, Phantoms obviously went to play a physical game with Dubuque, really screwed themselves offensively in the meantime, take a 3-1 loss in just what was a very ugly game. And honestly, if it wasn't for the play of Veltri, that score could have been way higher than it was.
Yeah, and he did not get a lot of help there at times. Guys were a little bit out of position to make hits, and everything just seemed to collapse.
So, coming back to Game 2 on Tuesday, we were a lot more hopeful, hoping that they would turn it around, get back to a more Phantom style of play that we've become accustomed to this season. And for the first 2 periods, they pretty much accomplished that.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a much better game. Exciting to watch, win or loss. I was certainly entertained.
In Game 2, Phantoms start out, go up 1-0. Dubuque kind of hangs around, comes back, ties the game at 1, and then you have the Phantoms go up 2-1. Dubuque kind of hangs around, and late in the third period, get a goal to tie the game at 2, and then the game goes to overtime, which is, every fan's favorite thing to happen on a Tuesday night.
Yeah. I had to be at work in Akron the next morning early, so that was not exactly how I wanted things to play out.
Third period ends, game tied at 2, goes into overtime. Just short of 5 minutes into overtime, puck thrown to the front of the net, deflects off a skate and into the goal. It was a controversial goal at first due to lack of replay. To some, it appeared that the puck was kicked into the net. Upon further review, it was deflected into the net off the skate, which is allowed. Did not seem like that way at the time, so that kind of added a little bit of bitterness to the end of that game for some of us.
I think some of it was because the refs didn't even bother to review it to end a game that way. You would think they would at least go over and take a look, but you can't really complain at this point. It was a good goal. Dubuque won. They were the deserving team.
Now, I mean, you can look back, you can point out a million and one things as far as what went wrong with the Phantoms. Game 1, I would say to a degree the officiating had something to do with it. Referee Jake Jackson called a very, very
horrible,
I would say uneven game. Calls that he was making early and was ignoring later in the game. Yeah, very unevenly refereed. Game 2, the refereeing was a little better. You know, at the end of the day, it just came down to that as far as beating Youngstown, Dubuque had the right game plan.
Yeah, I think we were a little bit tired. We'd had some crazy weeks before that. So I think the team just kind of ran out of gas there at the end.
Yeah, because when you look back, periods 1 and 2 of Game 2, the Phantoms came out with a lot of energy. By the third period, there was a marked difference in their energy level. They slowed way down, the skating was more sluggish, the puck control was more sluggish. But again, when it's all said and done, as much offensive firepower as Youngstown had, Dubuque was able to find a way to shut it down. They were most definitely the better team last week. My hat's off to them. Not doing so well against Muskegon, but...
Yeah.
You kind of want to have that mentality of, well, if we can't beat them, nobody else better, but...
Yeah, well, I remember a playoff series we had with them several years ago. Dubuque won the Clark Cup. It was only a 3-round playoff, including the finals then. All 3 rounds, 5-game series. Dubuque only lost twice, and those 2 losses were in Youngstown, so...
So just kind of an overall recap of the first round. All 4 series in the first round only went 2 games. They were 2-game sweeps in all 4 series. And the higher seeded team in each series won, except for us. So that feels good.
Yeah, there weren't a whole lot of surprises with the rest of the series. Everything has pretty much since then been as expected.
So with that, the current season is over for the Phantoms, so we will start to turn an eye towards next season. Some news and notes. Just today, we're recording this on Tuesday night. It was announced this afternoon some of the USHL awards. A couple mentions. Jack Malone was one of 6 players named to the All-Academic team, so very good on Jack Malone. And Brett Murray was named All-USHL First Team. And in the history of the Phantoms, this is the 4th time a Phantom has been named to the first team, 3rd player, joining Cam Morrison and Kyle Connor, who actually won the honor twice. So that's pretty good company to be in.
Yeah, and again, a shout out to Jack Malone for the All-Academic team. Apparently he is as smart off the ice as he is on the ice.
A little disappointed. I would have thought with the season he had, at the very least, maybe a 3rd team mention, but not even that. They padded those teams pretty well with Tri-City, Chicago, and Muskegon. So I guess 1 spot's the best we're gonna get out of this.
Yeah, and that's not unusual for Youngstown.
With the end of this season, we say goodbye to the former Bloomington Thunder, the, as of a couple weeks ago, current Central Illinois Flying Aces, shutting it down for next season, claiming that it's all to help looking towards the future. You don't see it that way, do you?
No, usually this is the kiss of death. There used to be a very good team, the Indianapolis Ice, who had a pretty good following, pretty well respected around the league. They lost their ice, and despite their ownership's willingness to put money forward, have never gained any traction in building an arena, and I believe as of a couple of years ago, they lost their franchise charter, so not a whole lot of history here to go on, but it doesn't look good for them.
No, so if you're having a cold one night, pour one out for your homies in for Central Illinois.
Poor Bloomington fans are probably feeling like they've been run through the ringer pretty badly, so I'll definitely do a shot in their honor.
So with Central Illinois leaving next season, you ask yourself, well, what's happening with all their players? Well, that comes in the form of a dispersal draft, which took place on Monday,
Yeah.
I believe. So basically, any players on the Central Illinois roster that is eligible to play next season, as well as their affiliate players, were up for a draft for the rest of the USHL in whatever order they decided on that we'll never know, so I'm not going to get into that. So as far as the goodie bag of this dispersal, well, yeah, pretty much, but dispersal draft, what did Youngstown get out of it?
Well, we got Robert Griffin. He's an 01 birth year center. He's an affiliate, did not play anything with Central Illinois or in the USHL period. Plays with the Boston Junior Bruins of the NCDC, which is a unsanctioned Tier 2 league. He's off to college the season after next, so he'll have 1 year probably to play in the USHL if he can make it. We have his rights. There was Bradley Merrick, kind of a defensive forward for the Central Illinois. Played a season and a half with them. He's off to Michigan State next year. He will have 2 more years of eligibility in the USHL, so should he not go to college or take a year off, we would have his rights. There is a 99 birth year Czech player named Tomáš Vočoska. I hope I got that right. He will have 1 more year of USHL eligibility. He is not committed to any college, so if he's trying to get into NCAA, he would probably be playing for us. Then again, he might be heading back to Europe. We will know probably when training camps roll around.
So, as we teased in episode 3, we had an interview lined up. Took a little bit of work schedule-wise, but we do in fact have the interview. Tuesday, before Game 2, I was able to sit down with Phantoms team president Andrew Goldman for an interview. And I'm sure I'm going to say this a few times before this is over, but definitely want to thank Andrew for agreeing to do this, agreeing to help us out. Because, let's face it, we're a couple of fans.
Yeah. And, I mean, he has been very, very cool with us, really, really open. Have to give him a huge round of thanks for doing this for us. Not a lot of teams, presidents would probably sit down with a fan podcast.
Yeah, especially one with, 3 episodes under their belt. So, I mean, maybe a leap of faith for him, but very glad he did it. Just a couple things I want to point out before you hear the interview here. One, this was, like I said, recorded this past Tuesday before Game 2, so you might hear a little bit more optimism in our voices as far as the Phantoms prospects in the playoffs than you would hear now, obviously. Number 2, I will point out, just in case anybody gets a little frustrated by this, slight audio issues during the recording. First time trying what I tried. Definitely in the future, we've got that worked out, what we'll do, so be a lot easier to hear and everything else. I tried my best to fix it up and make it presentable. Yeah, so from last Tuesday, this is the Dump and Chase podcast interview with Andrew Goldman. Okay, and we're here in the conference room at the Covelli Center, and I'm here with a very special guest, our first interview on the Dump and Chase podcast, Phantoms team president Andrew Goldman. Andrew, thank you for agreeing to this interview.
Oh, Sam, it's my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Kicking off, coming to Youngstown, what were your expectations for the season? And with the team making the playoffs for the 3rd straight year, how did those expectations play out?
Well, the truth is, Sam, the hockey is in many ways secondary to what I do on a day-to-day basis. The team is in incredible hands, starting with the general manager, Jason Kohler, who does an incredible job evaluating talent and not only focusing on getting talented hockey players here, but good people here.
Mm-hmm.
And that really is important to Bruce Olden, who's been an owner here in Youngstown for many, many years, and Murray Gunty, who's the new managing partner of the organization. So starting with Jason, the organization's in great hands. And then having all 3 of our coaches come back, starting with head coach Brad Patterson, Nick Peruzzi, Jeff Potter, the entire coaching staff coming back, and the hockey really played out exactly as I would have expected, which is The guys focusing first on player development and second on getting the team ready to play as we head into what is hopefully to be a long playoff run.
Mm. Now, when you have changes in ownership, sometimes the transition can be messy. The guys that you mentioned, I mean, did they make that transition easier for you?
Yeah, it was not all of the guys that I mentioned did, starting with Mr. Zolden. You know, one of my first nights in town, Jason Kohler and his wife Jess had me over for dinner. Spent a lot of time with the coaching staff. But beyond that, it's been the community as a whole. They've been incredible. The Mahoning Valley has been incredibly welcoming to me. Our season ticket holders, our Phantoms family, as we like to say, has been incredibly welcoming to me, and it's made the transition really about as easy as one could expect.
Now, it's no secret USHL teams, they have a hard time turning a profit, let alone breaking even. With the past groups that's been here, negotiations with the Covelli Center, it's been reported locally. There's some of those negotiations have been contentious. How important has it been for you to build that relationship with the Covelli Center?
Been incredibly important for me, and I think it's one of the things that I've focused on and been quite successful with. I have a great relationship with Eric Ryan and Ken Bigley at the top of the JEC organization chart, all the way down to the staff that works here on a game by game basis. We treat one another with respect. We work together, and we understand that we have a common goal, which is the more people we have in the stands here for Phantoms games, not only is it best for the Phantoms organization, but it's best for the Covelli Center. So that's really been important, and I think it's something that's gone quite well.
Now, being as established in youth hockey as Black Bears Sports Group has there been any unexpected challenges moving up to the Tier 1, Tier 2 junior level?
I think any time you do something that is new, there is a learning process that is bound to occur, and I certainly feel like in many ways that my first 9 months here have been an opportunity to grow and to learn, and there are things that if I could go back 9 months and do a little bit differently, I would. But fundamentally, what I believed when I walked in the door, and I still believe, is for the Phantoms to be successful in the Mahoning Valley, we need to become stakeholders as an organization in the community. We need to give back to the community, whether that means having our staff and or players in hospitals and schools, helping fundraising opportunities, things of that nature. And that's something that I think was a really, really smooth transition and something that we've done quite well. So there was some learning to be sure. But I think the biggest pieces of what I believe we need to be successful here, we've started to implement, and I'm excited about that.
Okay, so if you were talking to somebody right now, maybe they're sitting on the fence as far as maybe becoming season ticket holders, or even just coming to a game. Maybe they've never been to one before. How would you sell the Phantoms to them? How would you sell youth hockey to them?
So I think, one of the things that is a learning process, or let me say it differently, one of the things that we need to do a better job teaching is the level of hockey that is on display here with the Phantoms. 2 nights ago, Kyle Connor scored 2 goals for the Winnipeg Jets. Kyle played 3 years of his hockey career here in Youngstown. There is no other junior hockey organization in the world that has more people drafted into the NHL than the USHL does. So to come out to see a game, you're certainly going to see incredible hockey. But we've also focused on entertainment, right? We know that not everybody is focused only on the hockey, and we really want every game day experience to be a lot of fun. So whether that's participating in timeouts or intermission events, things of that nature, that will appeal to folks who are here for more than just coming out to see a hockey game. And we're going to continue to build on that. We're also going to continue to build next year going back to the Cavelli Center conversation, working with the arena to have food promotions and drink promotions, and things that will enhance what is an incredibly affordable night out here in Youngstown, that will allow people to go out as a family, have a really great time for a very affordable amount of money. On the season ticket side, one of the questions I've heard since the day I walked in the door from our season ticket holders is, what is the value proposition for me to commit to 30 games? Why when I, listen, we have a 6,000 seat arena here, and we're not filling up that arena anywhere close. People can come and get seats to games when they want to. So we worked really hard this early spring to put together a season ticket holder package that I think addressed that question. What is the value proposition? So we've included things like, for every game as a season ticket holder, when you get your season ticket holder booklet, you will not only get a ticket to the game, but you will get a voucher for either a free 20-ounce beer or a free fountain drink. So a free 20-ounce beer in this building is $9. If you come and you drink a beer, your ticket cost just went down to somewhere as little as $1.50, a ticket for your season ticket price.
Yes.
And there are many other benefits we've included. We're going to have 20 tickets that each member can use throughout the course of the season, whether it be to invite friends and family, or whether it be to bring a group from work, or, what we hope it will be used for is to expose people who quite frankly have never had the opportunity or interest in coming to a Phantoms game, and help them realize what a great night out it is.
That's been my experience over the past few years. People I've brought to games that's never been to a hockey game before, they all say the same thing when they leave. I can't believe I didn't do this sooner. I got to come back for another one. I mean, I've yet to bring somebody that they leave and they say, "Yeah, that was all right. I don't think I'll do it again." Right. That's yet to happen.
Right. I think that's right. And it's a question of, everybody gets in routines, and everybody has things that, they do on a Friday night or they do on a Saturday night. What we're hoping to do is to get sort of coming to a Phantoms game into that wheelhouse for more and more people. We're excited about some of the things that we will roll out next year to do that.
Okay, and wrapping this up, I'll go actually segue from a point you made a little bit earlier about Kyle Connor. Nathan Walker, who is a member of your Washington Capitals, that you've been now outed as a Washington fan in the Pittsburgh market. Nathan Walker, former Phantom, raised the cup last year. He's somebody who played right here at the Cavelli Center. So, look, NHL playoffs, any predictions?
Well, let me start. I am a Capitals fan. I'm lifelong. I'm born in the D.C. area, and have been a season ticket holder since I was 2 years old, and the Caps came to Washington in 1974. Having said that, I've spent a lot of time with the Penguins organization, worked relatively closely with them, Rich Hickson in particular, since I've arrived in Youngstown, and I am nothing but impressed with not only the obviously consistent and fantastic product they put on the ice, but what they do within the hockey community. They understand that their continued success in the front office is based on expanding the hockey brand and hockey experience and knowledge to today's youth. And they put so much time and effort into youth hockey. It's really, really great to see. The Penguins Foundation put up the deck hockey rink. They were kind enough to include us in that in Mill Creek Park, and I'm excited when we get into some warmer weather to be able to program that space and expose kids to hockey who might not be able to get on the ice, et cetera, et cetera. So now that I've backpedaled as much as possible from your Washington Capitals question, so predictions. If I had to predict, I'm going to assume that Columbus is able to close the deal and take care of Tampa Bay. So with Tampa Bay out of the way, I'm going to call for who's coming out of the West? I am going to call for a rematch of last year's Cup. How about that? I'm going to go Caps, Golden Knights.
See, sentimentality, I want to say Winnipeg. I'd like to see Kyle Connor in the finals.
I would be thrilled to see Kyle Connor in the finals for many, many reasons.
As far as the East, Washington, and Pittsburgh, barring a miracle, as much as I want them to move on, at this point, doesn't look like it. If Pittsburgh gets knocked out, I would honestly say if Columbus and Washington meet up, whoever wins that probably goes to the final and probably wins the Cup.
There's no easy series, the bottom line. And hockey is a game where a hot goaltender, the inside of the post versus the outside of the post, and a puck going in or a puck going out, oftentimes determines a series. And it's a whole lot of fun to watch. And I think for those who were here last night and we're about to play game 2, hopefully we'll take care of business so we can keep going.
Yes.
Playoff hockey in Youngstown is a whole lot of fun to watch. Historically, it's been a challenge to sell tickets for playoffs. We know that there's not a lot of time for people to prepare, but I would ask anybody who's got any interest. We got a lot of ticket promotions going on. We take care of business tonight, which I'm confident we will. Come out and support the boys tomorrow night. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, well, Andrew, thank you so much for doing this. Being our first interview, I wanted to get a plaque to commemorate it, but our sponsorship money really hasn't come in yet, so we're not there yet. But
soon enough. I have no doubts. No doubts, but it's my pleasure.
Thank you very much. Okay, so there you have it. Our interview with Andrew Goldman. Again, extremely grateful for him doing that for us. He's someone that when you talk to him, you realize, he knows so much about hockey. I mean, he could probably be a coach himself, which I believe at some point he has coached some youth teams. But a lifelong hockey fan, really knows the game. And he's someone, when you talk to him, you can tell that he really cares about this team. He really cares about the future of this team, which is something not to put past ownership or anything like that down, but sometimes it never seemed like that was their main focus. When you talk to him, you get within 5 seconds of talking to him that this team is something he deeply, deeply cares about and is looking into every aspect of the future to make the team successful.
Yeah. I mean, every interaction I've had with him, he seems like a very open, candid guy. In addition to knowing the game, he knows the business. He is a businessman. He's got a good plan, I think, going forward. Knows what he has to do. Knows how to make those connections, which, comes into play with, the arena and the city. I've kind of commented about us being kind of advertisement for youth hockey. Even if that's the case, he's doing it the right way. So, really, really am impressed with his knowledge and the fact that, he is open to discussion, open to criticism. So I think going forward, we'll probably hear more from him.
So what does the future hold for the Dump and Chase podcast? Well, we've got some pretty awesome feedback from people. Like we've said, we're a couple of fans. We're not affiliated with the team in any way, shape, or form other than we're both season ticket holders, both longtime season ticket holders. And, we do this out of the love of the team. And the idea that we had that, hey, this is what we do every home game anyway, let's record it and make everyone else suffer.
Yeah.
As far as the Phantoms offseason is concerned, right now what we have planned, we will be doing a post-draft episode. Now, Phase 1 of the USHL draft will take place on May 6th, and Phase 1 will be for all 2003 birth year players. May 7th will be Phase 2 of the draft. That will be all other players that are not currently protected by by a USHL team, either directly on a USHL roster or on one of the team's affiliate lists. But we will definitely take a look at the players drafted by Youngstown. No guarantee that they'll be on the team, but, definitely take a look and see what route the Phantoms took with the draft. After the Clark Cup finals are over, we'll do a bit of a season recap. We already did that in episode 1. We've already gone over most of the season, but we'll kind of take a look at the season just overall, kind of look how the playoffs went, who Tri-City ended up beating in the finals, because I'm pretty much guessing that's the way it's going to go.
Most bet is on Muskegon, but stranger things have happened.
You know what? Tri-City and Muskegon, if it comes to that, that will be a matchup to watch.
That has been kind of my prediction since really the beginning of the season in Cranberry. So I think this is the second year in a row I sat there going, well, these are the teams I think will make it, and pretty much that's how it's happened. So,
but that's, as far as the offseason, that's what we're looking at. If at any point we get a big chunk of information in a short period of time, we'll definitely get on here, kind of run through, what we found out, how that pertains to next season, everything like that. Next season, for us, these first so many episodes at the end of this season was kind of a test balloon for us, just kind of trying to work out some of the kinks, get our bearings on how we want to do this and everything else. We've got some big ideas for next season that we're definitely going to be working on through the summer. First off, the podcast will have its own dedicated YouTube channel, make it a little bit easier to find, a little bit easier to promote. Upgraded equipment, obviously. The interview didn't go exactly the way I wanted to audio-wise, so that's something definitely we're going to be upgrading. But it's just, like I said, it's just two fans just kind of throwing this together, and we're learning as we go. We've appreciated everyone's comments, everyone's feedback so far. And for anybody listening, if you have any suggestions for next season, we'd love to hear them. If you want to drop a comment below, definitely would love to hear them.
Yeah, please. Since I started the blog, I've always been looking for, suggestions, any sort of ideas. Everybody's like, hey, I love what you do. And it's like, well, what would you like me to do? I would really appreciate a little bit of feedback in that regard to kind of spur things along a little bit.
But yeah, this has been a lot of fun for us. A lot of fun for me. Me and Justin have been real good friends the past few years. He has his whole deal with hockeyfan.com, and it was one of those things that I kept thinking, I would love to be able to work with you. I'd love to be able to collaborate with you in some way. As far as writing articles, that was never going to happen for me. I mean, you know this stuff inside out. I would be like giving the Mighty Ducks version of events if I were to sit down and try to write an article. So there was just no competing with you in that regard.
Yeah, well, I mean, that all stems from starting out with a league that there was almost no information on. I had to piece everything together, so I figured, well, if I'm this much in the dark, then pretty much everybody is, and it's kind of gone on from there.
But, on behalf of myself, on behalf of both of us, everybody who has listened this season, we want to thank you so much for tuning in every week. At the same time, spread the word around, tell your friends, the more the merrier. But yeah, again, thank you, everybody, and especially thank you to the team. The Youngstown Phantoms very easily could have seen us as a nuisance, as a distraction, anything along that regard. Members of the team, officials of the team that I've spoken to have been nothing but supportive of us. I question if we would have done this a year or two ago, if we would have gotten the same response, but the group that's in place now has been very supportive, and we definitely appreciate that. Anybody you want to mention?
Yeah, well, let me throw out a shout out to the people who run the gyro stand. You guys have kept me running on more than one occasion. Some of the games I've gotten off of work and needed a quick gyro to get me through the game, so stick tap to you guys.
If only you could see the tears running down my cheek right now. That was beautiful. That was... And that'll be it for us for this week. We'll be back here in a couple weeks for the post-draft episode. But again, thank you everybody for listening in. Justin, any final thoughts?
Again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the team. Domo arigato to Andrew Goldman for the interview. We'll see y'all next season.
Thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.